Riot officially announced the Season 8 TFT tournament for the APAC region. Not only taking over and re-releasing League of Legends in Southeast Asia, Riot will bring the official TFT tournament to this region. One of the most special elements at the beginning of the 2023 season is that Riot has officially taken over and re-released League of Legends at two servers that are owned by Garena, VCS and PCS. Of course, the side game modes will also be transferred to Riot to manage, and Teamfight Tactics is one of them. This means that the TFT players in Vietnam absolutely have the opportunity to participate in Riot's official TFT tournament. As is known, so far, most of Vietnam's talented TFT players can only participate in spontaneous, community-based tournaments. Meanwhile, although it is only a side game mode, DTCL has had a tournament of the same level as the World Finals organized by Riot itself and gathered many world-famous players. Recently, Riot announced the first official TFT tournament of Season 8 for the APAC, Asia, Pacific, region. For players from Oceania, Korea, or China, these tournaments are not new at all. But for Vietnam and Southeast Asia alone, this will be the first big TFT playground that players from these two regions are allowed to attend after Riot takes over League of Legends. Below is information about DTCL Esports Season 8 in the Asia-Pacific region. C Round. There are 5 different servers running the Tactics Arena, and there are 2 ways to participate for C players, Vietnam/4 other regions, SG/ID/MY, TH, PH, MW/MO/HK. Vietnam region. Vietnam Open Qualifier Number 1, February 4 to February 5. Quantity, 256 players. Competition format. Plus Day 1, players will be divided into groups of 8 and each group will play 5 rounds. Teams will be swapped after the first 2 matches. Top 64 players will advance on Day 2. Plus Day 2, players will be divided into groups of 8 and each group will play 5 rounds. Teams will be swapped after the first 2 matches. Top 10 players will advance to C Regional Cup Number 1. Vietnam Open Qualifier Number 2, February 11 to February 12. Quantity, 256 players, for all players who failed in Open Qualifier Number 1 and players on the waiting list. Competition format. Plus Day 2, players will be divided into groups of 8 and each group will play 5 rounds. Teams will be swapped after the first 2 matches. Top 10 players will advance to C Regional Cup Number 1. C Regional Cup Number 1, February 17 to February 19. Quantity, 32 players. Plus Day 1, players will be divided into groups of 8 and each group will play 6 rounds. Teams will be swapped after the first 2 matches. The top 16 players will advance on Day 2. Plus Day 2, players will be divided into groups of 8 and each group will play 6 rounds. Teams will be swapped after the first 2 matches. Top 8 players will advance on Day 2. Plus Day 3, checkmate formula, players will compete until the first player reaches 18 points, thereby taking the first place in the round and becoming the C champion. Total prize $10,000 plus 6 Asian Cup qualifiers. Region SG/ID/MY, TH, PH, MW/MO/HK. The Chosen One, TW and HK Tournament, January 31 to February 3. Quantity, 16 players. Plus 8 players from the Open Qualifier. Plus 8 invited players. Plus Day 1, Group Stage, players will be divided into groups of 8 and each group will play 3 rounds. The top 3 players from each group will advance to Day 3. Players that rank 4-7 in each group will advance to Day 2. Plus Day 2, Losing Bracket Final, players will play 3 rounds per group. Top 2 players will advance on Day 3. Plus Day 3, General Final, players will compete in 5 rounds per group. Top 2 will advance to the selected area open qualifier. Total prize, 10,000 Hong Kong dollars plus selected area open qualifier. The chosen one, Regional Open Qualifier, February 11th to February 12th. Plus 3 players from the TW server. Plus 2 players from DTCL Chosen 1, TW and HK Tournament. Plus 3 players from Streamers Battle Africa TV, TW and HK. Plus 3 players from the TW server leaderboard. Plus 8 players from PH server, leaderboard snapshot plus influencer position. Plus 8 players from SG/my/ID server, leaderboard snapshot plus influencer position. Plus 8 players from TH server, leaderboard snapshot plus influencer position. Plus Day 1, players will be divided into groups of 8 and each group will play 6 rounds. Teams will be swapped after the first 2 matches. Top 50% players will advance to Day 2. 8 places to participate in C Regional Cup number 1.